Have you ever had a dream about a tornado or a storm, and then maybe a day or two later, something bad happened? Maybe it was chaotic, things started unraveling, there was some destruction in your life, and it could have been physically, but it could have been emotionally too. Well, storm and tornado dreams are actually very common warning dreams, sometimes signifying a physical tornado or storm that would actually happen in real life. But most of the time, they are warning dreams of warfare in the air. You know, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. That's what it says in John 10:10. And that's what tornadoes do. They come to steal, kill, and destroy. Also take our peace away. You know, they're chaotic. They're this whirlwind in a bad way that wants to take things from us. But if you know your Creator, He's the one who gives life, and He is the one who calls peace to the storm, and that is the solution to a storm or tornado dream. I want to give you an example of two women that had tornado dreams. One knew her Creator and the other one did not. Let me tell you, this lady that did not know her Creator, she says she kept having repeated dreams of driving this car with her husband in it, and she saw through the windshield a tornado that was up ahead. And then she would wake up from these repeating dreams. Well, I asked her in real life if her and her husband had trouble, and she's like, yeah, she's like, actually a few days later after I have these tornado dreams, I have huge fights with my husband. There's like major discord and we just fight about everything. It gets really blown up. And I'm like, well, that was your warning dream. But she didn't know her Creator. She didn't have the one inside of her who speaks peace to the storm. On the flip side, this other lady had a dream and she knew who her Father in heaven was. She had a dream that she was with her children and she was out in a field and she saw this storm coming up ahead. There was all these buildings around her and she knew that she had to gather her children and go find shelter from the storm. And that's what she did. She went and found shelter and like rallied around her children. And as that wind blew over and through, it didn't get to her and her children. And she stayed strong under the shelter in the storm. That woman knew about Psalms 91. She also knew about Mark 4, where Jesus is in the boat and there's this big storm and the disciples are in the boat like, help, help, because Jesus is asleep. Let me read it to you. The disciples woke up Jesus and said to him, Teacher, don't you care if we drown? And Jesus got up and rebuked the storm and said, Quiet, be still. He said this. Then the wind died down and it was completely calm. He said to his disciples, Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? They were terrified and asked each other, Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him. See, Jesus is the one who can calm the storms. He's the one who speaks to them. And if you have Jesus living on the inside of you, you can do the same thing because you're partnering with him and you're of the inheritance of the kingdom. So you've got to ask yourself, when these storm, tornado dreams come, who are you going to call on? Because you want to call on the one who controls the wind. All right? Be blessed. Write down your dreams. And remember, just because you have a scary dream or a storm dream doesn't mean it has to happen. You have to know the one to call on, your Creator above, who can call peace to all things and be with you to give you that shelter through all situations. All right? Be blessed. We'll see you next week.